Hello everybody, I'm meteorologist Ashley Smith here on this Saturday, and talking about, of course, all things Helene related, weekend related. I know there's still, even though a lot of things got canceled, there are still a lot of outdoor activities today. Especially because a lot of things got moved from yesterday to today, because even though today's not perfect, it seemed to be the better day. And so, yeah, we still have a lot to talk about. First, let me just show you, and we will get more into this, but I just wanted to show you the latest with now post-tropical storm Helene. So basically no more tropical characteristics, basically just a low pressure system that, of course, originated in the Atlantic Ocean, had those tropical characteristics. But now, just kind of a low pressure system that, of course, continues to bring a lot of rain to areas of, well, I mean, basically from Tennessee through a large portion of Kentucky, even as far north as Michigan. I mean, they're seeing some of that rain. So it's still a very large system, but just not as strong. Of course, not seeing all of those impacts like we did yesterday with the strong gusty winds. And we're going to get into that as well, just kind of take a little bit of a look back at yesterday and then talk about what's happening now. First, looking outside. Cloudy skies, damp conditions. The good thing is the visibility has improved. That actually has a correlation to how heavy that rain is. When the rain is really heavy and it's blinding, then the visibility drops. When we have visibility like we do right now, where it's not terrible, we're still able to see, pretty far off in the distance. That means the rain is pretty light. Still a nuisance, still makes the roads wet. We've had a couple of accidents outside today as well. I actually believe part of the highway here, if you're going north on 71, 75 across the Brent Spence Bridge, it is stopped, or at least it was. Let me see if it still is, actually, now that I've said that, I want to make sure that that's accurate. But there was a serious crash there. Looks like it involved a semi, just from what I could tell from our cameras. So let me see here. So yes, if you're out and about, just be prepared that yes, that we have had some of those crashes, some of those accidents across the area, and the rain doesn't take much, of course, to cause some of those problems. That's for sure. Here we go. So ignore basically what it says on this screen, I think. Yeah, so that traffic is stopped going north on the Brent Spence Bridge. Okay, not stopped, moving slowly. So that's good news. I do think, though, they may be rerouting you, and you have to exit just off of the bridge, either taking 71, taking 2nd Street, 5th Street. I'm not sure if you can take 50. So yeah, just something to be aware of if you're getting out and about today, that there are a couple of accidents across the area. So let me see here. This will give us an idea too. Oh yeah. Yeah, not good. So the crash is actually, and here's where the road is closed. So this is onto Western Ave. Okay. Yeah, so you can see that's where the road is closed, so you have to exit before that. That's why the traffic is so slow getting off of the Brent Spence Bridge. Also, this is kind of sad, but 5th Street is closed because, of course, they were supposed to have the Kroger Wellness Festival. It's closed because they set it up and then they weren't able to have it. So, that's the thing about a lot of these organizers. When they did cancel these events, they still put plans into motion to have them, hoping that the weather would turn or that it wouldn't be as bad, but unfortunately just not great conditions for a lot of those outdoor activities. So if you're out and about, 5th Street downtown still closed. I'm assuming they'll kind of break those things down either today or tomorrow. But Kroger Wellness Festival has been canceled. There was another festival in Middletown that was canceled. I think it might have been Hispanic Heritage Festival that was canceled. Obviously, a lot of sporting events have been moved around a little bit. FC Cincinnati still in town tonight. Of course, they'll play through this, no big deal. And the good thing is most of the fan seats are covered, so even if it's raining, you shouldn't be too bothered by that. if you're going to the game. Okay, just wanted to show you one of these photos from some of the damage that we've had. This is from Chris in Norwood, and this tree, very large tree, just kind of snapped here from the wind. It could have been lightning, but we really didn't have that much lightning yesterday, so I assume this is just from the wind, and pushed it onto his home. So a lot of folks will be cleaning up from those downed trees yesterday, and we had many reports of that across the tri-state. Here's a look at radar right now, still dealing with that rain that's, of course, moving in from the south. Some of the heavier showers are just moving through Lexington right now. Of course, all of that headed toward our region. And looking at kind of the wider view, there is still a lot of rain, still a lot of moisture with this system. Now, we'll start to see those showers become a little bit more spread out, a little bit more intermittent, if you will, later today. Probably not until this evening, but we will start to see some improvement. It's pretty steady out there right now, though. So again, that's what's probably leading to some of those slowdowns and even a couple of accidents across the area. These were our storm reports taking us back to the beginning of the event. Many reports of trees down. That's what most of these icons are that you see that look like a tree that has fallen. Yeah, so, and then some of these are wind gusts, which I have coming up next as well. A 47-mile-per-hour gust there in Falmouth. 53-mile-per-hour gust in Vanceburg. So, you know, a lot of schools, of course, dismissed early yesterday. I think a lot of that because they didn't want these school buses on the road and those really strong winds. That's just a recipe for disaster. So a lot of damage reports outside of our viewing area as well. And here were some of the highest wind reports coming in from some of our local airports. 68 miles per hour. That was the highest gust that we saw yesterday. That was from Wilmington. Again, keep in mind Wilmington kind of in a very open, unprotected area, so the winds tend to gust a little bit higher. There's not as many, it's kind of an open field there, so there's not as much to kind of take the impact of that wind. But Lunken, 64 miles per hour, 62 miles an hour at CVG. That was the highest gust yesterday. Warren County, Butler County, both over 50 miles per hour. So very strong winds yesterday. It's no surprise that we've had so many reports of downed trees and power lines, coupled with the fact that, of course, it was very dry and brittle. A lot of that timber would be easy to fall down for sure. And so just the combination really didn't bode well for a lot of that damage. These are the rainfall totals just since midnight today. So already 0.3 of an inch at CVG, 3,800s at Lunken, more than 1/4 of an inch in Hamilton, and we're not done yet. So by the time today is over, I think many of us see about an inch of rain total. So another 1/2 to maybe 3/4 of an inch on top of what we already have. Winds are a lot calmer today compared to yesterday. As a matter of fact, and this I think detects gusts over 15 miles per hour. So most winds are about 10 to 15 miles per hour right now. So should not see any kind of damage from those winds today. Temperatures right now in the 60s, and I don't think those temperatures budge very far from where they are right now. I think you're looking at those temperatures staying in the 60s throughout much of the day today. So you know, kind of what it feels like outside right now is what it's going to feel like all day. And kind of the same is true for what it looks like. Cloudy, damp conditions expected. 67 right now in Westchester and Mason, 66 in Florence, Dry Ridge and Brooksville, both at 63 degrees. At CVG right now, winds out of the east at 9 miles per hour. That's been pretty steady, about 10 miles per hour throughout the day today, and 65 degrees. So temperatures haven't moved very much, and they just won't. So at TQL Stadium or around the stadium, if you're tailgating, temperatures would be in the 60s today. And again, staying steady throughout that match. You should be able to stay dry. I think we also see those drier conditions throughout the match. I think later in the day is when we really start to see some improvement with this rain. So here's what you see happening right now. Still pretty steady rain. It continues this afternoon, starts to become more intermittent later this evening and into the overnight hours, and then scattered showers possible Sunday again. Now, Sunday, it's kind of more off than on, where today I think it's more on than off, but both days off and on showers expected. Monday and Tuesday, still even keeping the chance in for a little bit of light rain. It's going to be very isolated Monday and Tuesday. Rainfall totals, and again, this is on top of what we already have, as much as an inch, many of us closer to 3/4 of an inch of rain, most of that falling today and tomorrow. So here's a look at that 7-day forecast. Temperatures today stay in the 60s. We'll be back to the 70s tomorrow because we see more breaks, and that should allow the temperatures to warm up. We're in the mid to upper 70s Monday and Tuesday with just isolated rain chances, and then we finally see sunshine and dry weather for the middle to the end of the week. So seeing those improved conditions as well. As far as feeling more like fall, it's going to look pretty nice outside with more sunshine. So if you've missed the sun, I know I sure have. It'll be back by the middle of the week. We may see a few peaks Monday and Tuesday as well. Just wanted to mention again with Hurricane Helene. Okay. According to the Associated Press, 44 people have died so far because of Helene, and those were reported in Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. And some of it was from flooding, some of it was from, obviously the wind damage, trees falling on homes, trees falling on cars, all that kind of stuff. When it made landfall, 140 mile per hour wind speeds there in Florida. And the storm surge was incredible. We saw that flooding in North Carolina and Tennessee, and it's really continuing across parts of these areas, or at least the cleanup efforts are continuing. Lots of power outages. I checked just before I came on the air here, and I think we're at 64,000 outages here in the tri-state. However, Duke also serves the Carolinas and Florida, and they're dealing with more than 1 million outages in those areas. So for us, while still 64,000 customers without power is still a lot, they have made a lot of progress. As a matter of fact, that number's been cut down in half. We had 121,000 customers without power at the peak yesterday. So let's see. I will also say another note about Hurricane Helene and the forecast. The National Hurricane Center had this so close to accurate. Basically, their forecast a few days out had landfall only, I think, 40 or 50 miles away from where it actually made landfall. So this is why they put out that cone for the forecast, and we call it the cone of uncertainty, because basically it could make landfall anywhere inside of that cone, and they had the cone correct. It was just that center line was only about 40 or 50 miles off, which really is very accurate, considering, that they did that a few days out, and I think gave folks a lot of lead time. I know a lot of folks did evacuate, some didn't though, and so oftentimes, or maybe they evacuated to an area that still had a lot of impacts, because even far inland, hundreds of miles inland, Atlanta got 11 inches of rain. Atlanta, that's northern Georgia. So, this was far reaching, these impacts were. So they'll be cleaning up from that for a long time. I mentioned at the top of this that the Kroger Wellness Festival, of course, canceled today and yesterday. It's supposed to be a 2-day event, and unfortunately just had to completely cancel it. They are going to, because if you've ever been to the Kroger Wellness Festival, they give out a lot of free items and free samples of items that are available in Kroger stores from different vendors, and a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables. They are working with Matthew 25 Ministries, which of course is a local nonprofit that often works in times of disaster with those folks, not only locally, but across the entire country. They're working with them to donate all of those goods to Matthew 25 Ministries so that they can distribute those to the folks that are directly impacted by the very thing that canceled their event. So I think that that's a really great thing, that they're not going to let those items go to waste. They're not trashing them, because I tell you what, if you've ever been down there, it is significant, the amount of items that they give out. And this year rather, they were actually going to make it different in the way that they distributed those, to make sure that people didn't, because in the past people have come with wagons and strollers without kids, but just to fill them up, and they were going to cut down on that this year. I guess we'll have to wait a year and see if that system's going to work. But either way, a lot of folks will be spending the day inside today, I suspect, because of all of this rain. And I don't blame you, because yeah, kind of miserable outside. So let's look at what radar looks like right now. Oh, by the way, another thing, since Hurricane Helene was named, we've had Isaac and Joyce, but they're out to sea. So they won't impact any kind of land masses. At least that's the last I checked. Let me make sure that hasn't changed. Yeah. Oh, and Joyce is a tropical storm, and Isaac is still a hurricane. Joyce will probably stay a tropical storm, according to the National Hurricane Center. Doesn't look like it becomes a hurricane. And then, where's Isaac? WXIX way in the North Atlantic and is a hurricane. But again, not impacting any kind of land masses. So, but yeah, it is tropical season, of course. It can go into November, or hurricane season, I guess, is what it's technically called. There is another system that the National Hurricane Center is watching. It gives it a 60% chance of forming a tropical storm within the next 7 days. So we're not done yet, that's for sure. Okay, sorry, I want to read some of these questions. We have no power and tree branches are down by Stone Lake State Park. Oh, Molly, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, tree limbs falling and then crashing into homes and structures has been the biggest thing that I've seen. But, a heavily wooded area, I'm sure there's a lot of trees down. My brother lives in West Virginia, like just outside of not just outside. He lives in an area outside of Morgantown, West Virginia, and says that he still has no power. He's pretty rural though. And he had some big trees that came down. That was the other thing. It wasn't just, these small tree limbs, but and the problem yesterday was the winds were not only very high. I mean, when you have winds over 60 miles per hour, I mean, that is really strong wind gusts. In a severe thunderstorm warning, when those get issued, it's for 60 mile per hour winds. Technically, I think it's like 58 mile per hour winds because it's by knots. But, that's enough to cause a lot of damage. These were closer to 70 mile per hour winds, which are, close to hurricane force winds. I mean, we still had nearly hurricane force winds here in the tri-state, which is pretty incredible. Yeah, let me look here. Yeah. But the problem was it went on for so long. So, you get one gust and it kind of moves things around, but that's okay. But when it's sustained, when the gusts are sustained for so long and you're looking at the gusts, 40 to 60, even close to 70 miles per hour for all day, pretty much. I mean, they didn't really wind down until 6, 7 p.m. That's what really caused a lot of the widespread damage. And of course, plenty of the power outages as well. And that's why, again, we still have a lot of folks without power. Remember, if you don't have power or somebody without power, there are always resources available, shelters that you can go to. I would get in touch with, the American Red Cross or and I was watching our Big Noon Kickoff, which is on right now on Fox 19, and they were talking about donating to the American Red Cross to help with the efforts of cleaning up from Helene as well. So always somebody out there to help you, so if you do need that. And of course, if you don't have power, make sure that you report that, even though nowadays, most of the time, the power provider, your energy provider probably knows. Just in case, I would definitely report it just to have that on the record. But they're doing a good job. And the other thing is they can't get up in those bucket trucks unless winds are less than 30 miles per hour. So that took a long time before they could get out there and safely help to restore power if they had to get up in a bucket truck, which most of the time they do. So, yeah. I heard somebody said, I can't remember the neighborhood, but that a transformer blew. And, the problem with that is it's a longer repair process, but it also impacts a lot more folks than if it was just a power line that came down. The transformer really can cause a widespread outage. So I said earlier, and I need to knock on wood, that I very rarely lose power. I don't really know why, but even yesterday, I don't even think it flickered yesterday. So yeah, I'm really lucky. Where I lived before I moved here, I had underground lines, which are good weather-wise because it's, weather doesn't impact that. But when you do have an outage, it takes longer for that power to get restored when you have an underground line. So, yeah. But again, for the most part, because we didn't have any injuries around here, that's really good news. We had some reports of flooding. Actually, let me look back at this. I don't know that we had any reports of flooding locally. Oh, I skipped past it. We had reports of flooding like just outside of the viewing area. Portsmouth got hit really hard just outside of our viewing area. I mean, let me see what these flood reports say. High water over vehicles on street. Wow. Water in homes. Person trapped in a vehicle. Yeah, so these were all yesterday. And, you know, just really close to Lewis County. And then, but yeah, I didn't see any reports of flooding locally. That doesn't mean it didn't happen. It just might not have gotten reported to the National Weather Service. Of course, we had those really strong wind gusts. This gust at Lunken, what was it, 64 miles per hour at Lunken. Here's a report of a tree down in Norwood. We had a lot of trees down in Norwood. In Claremont County, we had a lot of trees down too. The skeletons, I posted that on social media. I actually had said that on Wednesday. I suspect a lot of Halloween decorations, some ghosts, some skeletons are going to turn lifelike and be coming down. And sure enough, we had a couple of pictures of that. Spooky season in full effect for sure. But again, no injuries, and that's the most important thing. So, yes. What am I doing here? Okay, there we go. There's radar. Let me actually turn a different radar on. So yeah, you're going to get these breaks. You can see it out there right now where we see some of that drier kind of air moving in. Unfortunately, though, we're just going to have to deal with rain for much of the day because of, you know, just how large this system is. The center of circulation is really across like western Kentucky, western Tennessee, but kind of pushing all of that moisture into the tri-state. So that's why we're having to deal with the effects as well. Also wanted to mention, so the drought monitor came out Thursday. It takes 2 days to tabulate that data, and so actually it doesn't. It cut off any rain that we got after 8 a.m. Tuesday. And actually, if you remember, on Tuesday we did have storms. So this drought monitor is going to look very different this week when it gets released on Thursday, because it's going to include all of that rain from last Tuesday, which in some spots we got 2 inches of rain or more. All of the rain that we got Thursday night into Friday, today, tomorrow, and anything that we get Monday and early Tuesday morning. So this is going to look a lot different. However, the one thing about the drought, you need that rain to really soak into the soil. And so I'm not sure how much of that really got to soak in, or it was runoff initially. So at this point, it's all soaking in, no doubt about that. That ground is now no longer very hard. It's definitely more saturated. But I think it's going to take a long time for the drought monitor to look very favorable. Even though we're well above normal now for rainfall for this month, thanks to just basically 2 days of really heavy rain all in 1 week, it's still going to take some time to have a major impact. In other words, for all of us to be out of the drought, I think that's not going to happen magically. But we'll definitely see an improvement, no doubt about that. So. The other thing is with the pumpkin patches, I think Ken Baker was out at one a couple weeks ago, and they said you actually want it to be dry just before you pick the pumpkin, or just before the pumpkin has like completely, I don't know, reached its peak maybe. And then right before you pick them, you want a nice rain. So now, actually next weekend might be a good time to go to a pumpkin patch, because now we've gotten that rain. And next weekend would be a good time to have a bonfire, to do any kind of burning that you've put off. I would assume that a lot of burn bans will be lifted by next weekend too, because now we've seen that rain and the ground is not bone dry like it was at one time. So all of these things, this rain, while yes, it canceled a lot of things, and there's a lot of bad things about the rain, and especially with the hurricane in general, at least for us, I think the good outweighs the bad, because we did really need the rain. And, I know that doesn't, for the person that the tree fell on your house, the good doesn't outweigh the bad. But in the broad scheme of things, this was a good soaking rain, which was really good. So I would recommend, if you do have outdoor plans today, yes, that's the other thing. Okay, let me finish one thought before I go to another. If you do have outdoor plans today, just prepare for rain. Even though it's going to be off and on, those showers will continue for quite a while, off and on throughout the day today. Somebody posted, actually I should see who that was, because it was a good point. Molly Molly said, thankful for the linemen, all of the people that work for the power company and their families. I actually have a friend who her husband is a lineman, and a lot of times she's home alone while he's out either traveling pretty far away to, of course, we even had local crews from Duke going to Florida before the hurricane ever hit to stage there and then get to work restoring that power. At one time, millions of people were without power. So thank you to all of the linemen that are out there restoring power and their families that go without them during those storms as well. It's it's not forgotten the sacrifices that you guys make too, so that we can turn the lights on and be able to not only do our jobs but also just watch football and binge our shows. So yes, very thankful. You don't realize how much you depend on it until you don't have it anymore. Okay, I think I'm going to wrap this up here. We'll have more for you tonight on Fox 19 Now. Ethan Emery is off tonight, so Steve Horstmeyer will be in for him. I'm sure we have a football game. I haven't looked, but I would assume that we have football on, and then we'll be on the air after that. And then tomorrow, don't forget, during football season, our Sunday show is from 7 to 9. And then we start prepping for the Bengals game, which is on Fox 19 Now tomorrow. So they have baseball on tonight, so they shouldn't go on too late. They'll be on after that. So this is interesting. They have baseball from 7 to 10. It's the Mets at the Brewers. Then they have the news from 10 to 11. And then they have college football, West Coast college football, Oregon at UCLA. So kind of got the newscast sandwiched in there between baseball and college football. So you can tune in tonight for that. And of course, I will be back on tomorrow morning as well. Okay, yeah, just want to make sure that I answered all the questions. So until then, I hope that you guys have a great day. Try and stay dry and try and enjoy the day as much as you can, despite the fact that, of course, we're dealing with some yucky weather. Okay, have a good one.